It's another big weekend of recruiting in Tuscaloosa, and we're going to get back to our roster countdown on this episode of Tide Talk Live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back in to Tide Talk Live. I'm your host, Stacey Blackwood. As you can see, riding solo today as we talk more recruiting. That's what everybody wants to talk about right now. So that's what we're going to do in this episode. And at the end, we'll run through some players on the roster as we continue our roster countdown as we look forward to the start of the 2025 college football season, which is 71 days away from kickoff at the time of this recording. So, probably about 40 days or so until the Crimson Tide will start practice in Tuscaloosa. So excited about that. We are powered by the Believe Network, free and available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. Wherever you find your podcast, you can find Tide Talk Live. Also look for us on your favorite social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Just search Tide Talk Live and you will find us there as well. And we would appreciate a follow on those platforms too. But like I said, big show. We're going to dive into some recruiting. Maybe the most important official visit weekend of this calendar year up to this date, because the heavy in-state and highly coveted in-state prospects of this class are in Tuscaloosa this weekend. We'll talk about all those guys. There's some commitments for Alabama on campus this weekend as well. So we'll just kind of run through the list of who's on campus this weekend and kind of where Alabama sits right now in terms of those potential prospects. So a guy that's there that just committed, we haven't had a chance to talk about. We talked about him when Alabama first extended an offer a few weeks ago, and that's four-star quarterback Jett Thomalla, who decommitted from Iowa State earlier this week and made that commitment to the Crimson Tide. And Coach DeBoer was able to compete at the Elite 11 camp over the last couple of days, did a really good job, finished inside the top 10 of their rankings, I think at number 7 or so, according to all the guys there. So a really good week, big week for Jett Thomalla. I think a guy who's, probably going to finish inside the top 10 of the top quarterbacks in this class, maybe could finish inside the top 150 of overall prospects. So I look for him to climb a little in the rankings, and it's nice to have that quarterback in your class now. And it's really good to follow up a Keelan Russell type player who was, maybe the top quarterback, if not maybe the second best quarterback in his class, 5-star guy, all the potential in the world. But you follow that up in the next class with a guy of Jett Thomalla's ability. That's a really big pull for Coach DeBoer and his coaching staff. Another commitment on campus this weekend is Chris Booker, a 4-star interior offensive lineman from Atlanta, Georgia. He's a really good player, a guy who's going to continue to rise in the rankings as well, kind of a late bloomer. You also have Zion Gibson in, the 6'1" corner from Gaston, Alabama. He's a guy who's Tennessee is trying their best to pull from Alabama. He's been committed to the Crimson Tide since Christmas, or maybe it was Christmas Eve last year. So I really like where Alabama's at with him. They still have his commitment, and he's back on campus this weekend as well. But when you talk about the guys that's there for an official visit this weekend, you got to start with the 3 in-state prospects, the 3 5-star dudes within the state of Alabama, who Alabama is currently in a really good position to land with. We'll start with Cederian Morgan, the 6'4", 220-pound receiver from Alexander City, Alabama, a guy who has all the tools. Big body at 6'4", really good speed, great hands, good ball skills, can win vertically down the field, a mismatch nightmare for opposing defenses. And I like where Alabama's at right now. Other teams are pushing. Auburn's going to push for all 3 of these in-state prospects. They're going to give everything they got. But at this time, I feel really confident where Alabama sits with Cederian Morgan. Then you look down at Xavier Crowell, the 5-star running back, the number 2 running back in this class, would be the number 1 running back if he hadn't reclassified and moved up a year. Supposed to be a 2027 back, but is reclassified to be a part of this 2026 class, kind of like what Ryan Williams did last year. And this dude is special. I think inside this Kalen DeBoer offense, this is a guy who could be that elite threat at the running back position. Like where Alabama sits with him, this is going to be a really important visit for the Crimson Tide. Then you look at Anthony Jones, the edge guy from Mobile at St. Paul's Episcopal, 6'3.5", 235, one of the best edge players in the country. I could see this guy bulking up and becoming an LT overtime player at the bandit position. But either way you slice it, this is a 5-star, hand in the dirt player, a coded position, and a guy who I think could be a really special player a couple years down the road. And Alabama's in good shape right now, but this one is going to be tough for the Crimson Tide to pull. I think out of the three, I feel the least confident in Anthony Tank Jones, but I still would favor the Crimson Tide at this moment. And I like where Alabama sits with all three of those in-state players, those 5-star prospects. But this weekend is huge for these guys, especially for Crowell and Morgan, because they have decisions coming up over the next couple of weeks. And I would like for Alabama to haul those guys in as the summer continues. Would be an excellent start to the summer if you could pull in 2 5-star in-state prospects like Cederian Morgan and Xavier Crowell. There's some other guys on campus this week. A name to watch is Max Sutter, a really talented tight end from Illinois, in a big fight with the Illini on this one. One of the top tight ends in the country at 6'5", 6'5 and a half, 225, a really good athlete. This is a big weekend for him as well. And another guy who is from Georgia, Leesburg, Georgia, Lasiah Jackson. You look at what this coaching staff likes in defensive backs at that cornerback position. This dude is 6'3", 170, length for days. And that's what this coaching staff likes. He's on campus this weekend. We're in a battle with the Florida State Seminoles for this guy. Really like where Alabama's at. It's up in the air. I would say it's 50-50 right now, but this weekend could go a long way in determining what Jackson decides to do. There's other guys on campus this week as well. Anthony Davis, Javari Barnett, Mitchell Smith, Owen Cabal, who's a wide receiver prospect from Nashville. So Zay Hill, I think, is another important in-state guy, a recent offer that Alabama made for an off-ball linebacker, 6'2 and a half, 220. Maybe not the most highly coveted prospect, but a local product who's going to continue to climb in the rankings as well. And a guy this coaching staff is starting to kind of fall in love with, and with this late offer and a late push they're trying to make for this in-state prospect. So that's the run of the guys who's going to be on campus, who are on campus this weekend in Tuscaloosa. And like I mentioned, this is a huge weekend, especially in terms of in-state guys. All the talk last year was how Coach DeBoer and this staff was not going to be able to recruit within the state of Alabama. Even beside the point, they did not have a great year in state, but that was on purpose. They finished number 3 in the country, and that was a huge step in the right direction. Right now, this class is small. I think 6 commitments as we speak, as we're recording this episode on June 20th. But more commitment dates are coming up over the next couple of weeks as these guys kind of wrap up their official visits, because I believe the dead period is going to start maybe Sunday at midnight or Monday at midnight, one of those days. And you're going to start seeing a lot of these prospects starting to commit. So this weekend is massive for Alabama, especially in terms of those in-state guys, Cederian Morgan, Tank Jones, Xavier Crowell, Zay Hill. A lot of those in-state guys could be making decisions real soon. And this week can go a long way in determining whether or not they go with the Crimson Tide or not. So big weekend on the recruiting trail as always. The last couple of months have been wild and crazy, and with official visits and announcements, and all this is going to start to accumulate. All these visits are going to accumulate into commitment dates, which will be happening over the next couple of weeks. And we'll be here at Tide Talk Live to kind of recap and cover all that as well. But if you do like what you're seeing here on our channel, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Our channel is continuing to grow. We're almost to 3,000 subscribers. So help us grow our channel here on YouTube and reach that goal of 3,000 subscribers. Jump in the comment section. Let us know which in-state prospect you believe is the most important. I know you're going to say all of them, but if you had to pick one, give me one in-state guy that you think Alabama must get in this 2026 class. And I would love to interact with you guys there in the comment section below. Like I said, we are powered by Believe Network. They have a massive, infrastructure, if you want to call it that, for podcasts, whether it's other SEC teams, whether it's, true crime, whatever the subject matter is, the Believe Network has a show for you. So make sure you check out the Believe Network at Believe.com and subscribe to our podcast platform. Leave us that 5-star written review as well. But as we kind of continue on to the second half of our show, I want to get back to our roster countdown. We started this a couple of weeks ago with Micah DeBose, Luke Metz, and Mel Waldrop. and we need to get back on track if we're going to get this thing wrapped up by the time fall camp arrives. And we still have a lot of shows that we got to get to you over the summer months as we get to our depth chart projections and all that for both sides of the football. By the way, get on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Look up our post. Right now we have a post up. We want you guys to vote. Repost if you want us to start with offensive depth chart projections, or like if you want us to start with defensive depth chart projections. So make sure you give us a follow on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and interact with us over there on that social media platform. But we're going to continue our roster countdown here in just a second. I want to give you some context to this. The spring portal arrivals are not going to be on this list. So Brody Dalton, Jake, the other tight end, Jake Samarco. There's another guy who come in, I didn't forget. But anyways, those guys are not going to be on the list, and neither will the summer enrollees like a Chuck McDonald, a Caleb Edwards, those top players. They're not going to be on the list either because they have not really participated with Alabama in any type of football activities, whether it was spring practice and as we lead up to fall camp. So we started with 77 total players. Number 77 was Micah DeBose. 76 was Luke Metz. 75 was Mal Waldrop. We're going to start back at number 74 with Bubba Hampton, a wide receiver who I think is a really talented player, has battled some injuries, was not able to really participate this spring, and sadly, he is kind of getting passed up on the depth chart by some younger guys who I don't want to say are more talented, but they have just kind of taken advantage of the opportunity they had this spring and kind of rose above where Bubba Hampton is currently. But I really like Bubba Hampton as a player, as a receiver prospect, a really talented guy with the ball in his hands, but has been kind of passed over by some younger talent. But I do like Bubba Hampton as a player, and it'd be interesting to see what kind of noise he makes this fall, and if he can kind of get back and earn his way back up the depth chart in fall camp. We continue with number 73, Cavante Henry, who, by the way, has changed his name from Cavante to, I don't know how to say it, Fatatua, I believe is how you say it. He is a JUCO guy, edge defender. I don't see him making much of an impact this year simply because you have guys like Quay Rusall, Jamarian Latham, you have Yanze Pierre. You have guys like that who I think are ahead of him on the depth chart right now. So I'm not sure how much of an impact he can make this year. We'll see what type of noise he can make in fall camp as well. But Cavante Henry comes in at number 73. Number 72, a redshirt, is he a redshirt freshman or redshirt sophomore defensive lineman, Isaiah Faga from Alabama. A really good player, undersized a bit, but a guy who I think does a really good job of playing with pretty good quickness on the interior. But like these guys that are here around this area in the depth chart, they're just behind some more talented players. And I hate to say more talented because I'm not knocking the guy. He is a really talented player, but there's just some guys that are ahead of him right now. But he checks in at number 72. Number 71 is Arkella Nugwam, a guy who transferred from Ball State. He's going into his redshirt sophomore season. And this is the type of guy, when you see him step off the bus, you're like, whoa. You're at 6'6", 330, extremely long arms, extremely athletic, but is new to football. I don't think he started playing football until his junior year of high school. So this is maybe year 5 of actually playing, football at a competitive level. So he's still learning the position. He's still learning the game. But I think a guy who has tremendous upside, was able to receive a lot of reps this spring and kind of grow as a player. And I'm anxious to see, once again, how he continues to develop throughout the summer and into fall camp and see if he can kind of make any noise at the tackle position, because there is some room to maybe push for some, second team reps from an offensive tackle standpoint behind Caden Proctor at left tackle and Wilkin Formby at right tackle. So we'll see what kind of noise Arkella Nugum can make this fall. Number 70 on the list is Jay Lindsay, and I really hated to put him here because he got so many reps during spring because of injuries at the tight end position. But this is a guy who I think Robbie Oots is a good comp, maybe a mixture of CJ Dupree and Robbie Oots. A big kid, 6'5", 250 plus, really good blocker, plays really good at the point of attack. Does a pretty decent job of getting out in space and blocking the way Robbie Oots was able to. And a guy who I think in maybe a year or two is going to be a really important player for this Alabama offense, but still learning, still growing, but a guy who I think can be a good player down the road for the Crimson Tide. I'm going to wrap up the list. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do a couple more. Number 69, Steve Boumois, a defensive lineman who was actually going to be a part of the 2024 class last year, but had to go the JUCO route. 1 year at JUCO. Now he's back in Tuscaloosa. A guy who played really well from Canada, was recruited out of Canada, had a really good season at the JUCO level, and a guy who I think could be the sleeper of fall camp. He's a guy who I think maybe going into fall camp nobody's really talking about, who could really explode up the depth chart and become a household name amongst Crimson Tide fans by the time the season rolls around from that interior defensive line, because I think he's built like a tank, super strong, super athletic. Alabama needs more depth on the interior of the defensive line, and he could be a guy who could provide that this fall for the Crimson Tide. We'll wrap it up with number 68, true freshman running back, Eite Deer, a really talented player, but there's just so many backs on this team that are ahead of him. You know, you have Kevin Riley, you have Jam Miller, you have Dre Washington, you have Richard Young, you have Daniel Hill. So there's so many backs on this roster right now that Eite Deer as a freshman is just going to be behind those guys until he can prove he's ready for big-time SEC football, and that includes being able to pass protect. So there's more than just running the football. There's more than just catching the ball out of the backfield and being athletic with the ball in your hands. You have to be able to protect the quarterback in pass protection situations, and that's where, you know, these young running backs really struggle the most. But I really like Eite Deer. I think he has a bright future ahead of him and could be a really good player for the Crimson Tide down the road. But that's going to wrap up our roster countdown for the day. We're now down. We've done 77 through 68. We'll come back again shortly to wrap up some more guys down the road as we continue our roster countdown. But we do have a lot of shows scheduled for you over the next month or so as we get ready for the start of the college football season. Just a few weeks away from SEC Media Days. Fall camp will be starting, and we're going to try to jam our depth chart projections at a position-by-position basis between now and the start of fall camp. So we can't wait to do that. Jake will be with me as we do those episodes. But that's going to wrap up today's show, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Really enjoyed it. Please do consider subscribing to the channel. Give us a download on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave us that 5-star written review. Smash that like button here on YouTube. Jump in the comments and give us your thoughts on today's episode, and we would greatly appreciate that. But that's going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you real soon. Roll Tide.